If you love real emotional stories, hit subscribe. We post one every week. I don't understand, the woman whispered, her hands shaking as she gripped the counter. You're alive? I blinked at her, exhausted, hungry, and numb. Alive? I'm Thomas Gray. At least, I thought I was. Her eyes darted to my ID, back to my face. Born March 15th, 1974, in Lancaster, Pennsylvania? I nodded. She stumbled back, knocking her chair over. Lock the doors, don't let anyone in. Not yet. Her voice quivered, urgent and strange. The murmurs of other men in the shelter faded as she hurried to a phone. Authorization code 77 Alpha 9. We found him. Thomas Gray just walked through the door. She paused, listening. Her face drained of color. Understood. Lockdown now. When she returned, she pulled a folder from a drawer, her hands trembling. The label read, Testament Project, Subject 7, Presumed Deceased. She opened it, and a photograph fell out. An infant, barely 3 months old, with a crescent-shaped birthmark on the shoulder. The same mark I had. Mr. Gray, she said, her voice steady now but eyes wide with disbelief. They've been searching for you for 30 years. Officially, you died in a lab fire in 1977. I laughed, bitter and hollow. This has to be a mistake. I'm just a warehouse manager. My wife left me for my boss, took everything, my kids hate me now. I'm nobody special. She shook her head. This isn't a mistake. Here, look at this. She handed me a birth certificate. The name wasn't mine. It read Ethan Porter, mother listed as Dr. Eleanor Porter, biochemist at the Testament Research Institute. Father's name was blacked out. My mind spun. This is insane. I'm just Thomas Gray. I've lived a normal life. Well, normal until I hit rock bottom. No, she said softly. Not normal. They were after you from the start. Your birth mother didn't die in an accident. She was killed protecting you. And Roland Carrington, my former boss, the man who stole everything. He's been hunting you longer than you realize. The pieces clicked into place, horrifying and exhilarating. Everything I believed about my life was a lie. The man who had reduced me to the streets had been looking for me not to destroy me, but for reasons darker than I could imagine. My DNA held secrets powerful enough that governments would kill for them. And here I was, a homeless man, finally in the crosshairs of a world that had been watching me since the day I was born. The door to the intake room rattled with 3 sharp knocks. Joyce's eyes locked on mine, urgency and fear in her gaze. Mr. Gray, whatever happens next, remember this. Your mother died to give you a choice. Now you'll face another one. But first, you need to know the truth about who you really are. I shook my head, trying to process her words. I wasn't always sleeping under overpasses and scavenging through dumpsters. Just 6 months ago, I was Thomas Gray, Regional Logistics Manager at Carrington Industries, earning $78,000 a year with full benefits and a company car. I'd worked my way up from the warehouse floor, starting as a supervisor at 25, learning every route, every supplier, every detail that kept Roland Carrington's empire running like clockwork. My life thrived on routine, order, and reliability. Every morning at 5 a.m., my alarm buzzed in our 3-bedroom home in Castle Rock. I brewed coffee in the kitchen Lauren had remodeled 2 years prior, scrambled some eggs, and reviewed overnight reports from our distribution centers. Lauren would appear around 6 o'clock, kiss me on the cheek, and we'd chat over breakfast about the kids. Hannah had just graduated with her nursing degree and was working at Denver Medical Center. Luke, 19, was halfway through his electrician apprenticeship, already earning good money on weekends. 25 years of marriage. That was what I thought we had. Sure, things had cooled over time, but I assumed that was normal. We had become partners more than lovers, managing schedules, bills, and retirement planning. Lauren had started dressing better, getting her hair done every other week, working out more regularly. I encouraged her, complimented her, meant every word. The truth was she had been having an affair with Roland Carrington for 2 years. My boss, the man who approved my bonuses, shook my hand at holiday parties, praised my performance reports. He had been seeing my wife in hotel suites billed to the company, the same credit card I had been denied for legitimate travel expenses. Roland Carrington, 62, worth $3.8 billion from defense contracts and shipping ventures, had silver hair, a permanent tan from Aspen, and a smile that never reached his eyes. His first wife had died a decade ago, and he had a history of short-term relationships with women half his age. Lauren caught his attention at a company gala while I was giving a presentation on quarterly efficiency improvements. She later admitted he had approached her at the bar, my back turned, focused on work. The divorce came like a thunderclap on a Monday in August. I returned from work to find Lauren's attorney in my living room, papers already drawn. "Mr. Gray," he said with that practiced sympathy that made my fists clench, "Mrs. Gray believes it's best if you separate. She's requesting the house, both vehicles, and appropriate spousal support considering income disparity." "What income disparity?" I asked, stunned. Lauren worked part-time at the public library. She walked in, eyes downcast, never meeting mine. "I haven't been happy for years, Thomas. You're married to your job. I need someone who notices me, who appreciates me." I tried to fight back, hired my own lawyer with my 401k savings. But Lauren's legal team, funded by Roland, framed me as a negligent workaholic who emotionally abandoned my family. They presented proof of missed football games, witnesses describing her loneliness, and anniversary lapses. The judge awarded her everything: the house, both cars, 60% of our savings, and $500 a month in alimony for 3 years. I moved into the extended stay and off Interstate 25, telling myself it was temporary while I figured out my next step. The next morning, Roland Carrington summoned me to his office. He sat behind the enormous mahogany desk with a sweeping view of the city, and Lauren was there, inspecting her fresh manicure like it was just another routine day. "Thomas," Roland began, his tone flat, "we need to talk about restructuring. Your position is eliminated immediately. Security will escort you to gather your belongings. Your final check includes 2 weeks severance. More than fair, I'd say." "You're firing me?" I muttered, stunned. 25 years of my life, building the regional distribution network from scratch, reduced to this. Roland leaned back, fingers steepled, as if explaining something to a child. "The company is moving in a new direction. This is for the best. A fresh start for everyone. Don't you agree?" Lauren finally glanced at me, her eyes cold, void of guilt, sadness, or pity. Just triumph. Security escorted me out, carrying a cardboard box with 25 years of work, a coffee mug, a few family photos, and a globe-shaped stress ball. My key card was deactivated before I reached the lot, and the company car had to be returned within 24 hours. Marcus, the security guard I'd known for 15 years and whose son I'd helped get a warehouse job, couldn't meet my gaze as I loaded my box into my personal car. The extended stay and became my base while I searched for work. 50 years old, decades of experience, stellar references from every previous employer except Roland, and a record of boosting efficiency by 40% wherever I worked. This should have been easy. But Roland Carrington's influence reached farther than I imagined. Interviews went well, then suddenly the positions were filled, canceled, or promoted internally once they checked references. My brother, Daniel, let me crash on his couch when the hotel became unaffordable. Daniel, 47, worked construction and lived in a cramped one-bedroom apartment in Aurora, heavy with the smell of cigarettes and frustration. "Tommy, this is temporary. You'll bounce back," he said. But after 3 weeks of me coming home drunk at 2 a.m., vomiting on his carpet, and yelling at neighbors, he had enough. "You have to go? I can't watch you spiral." My mother, Ruth Gray, 81, lived in Mountain View Senior Care on Social Security and what little savings Dad left her when he died 5 years ago. She cried when I told her everything. "Tommy, come stay with me," she pleaded. But her facility didn't allow long-term guests, and I refused to burden her. She sent $300 from her savings. I returned it. She sent it again. I kept it, buying whiskey. Uncle Gerald, Dad's younger brother, tried to help too. 73, retired postal worker on a fixed income, he wired me $500 with a note. "Kenneth would want you helped, son." That money lasted 4 days. I don't even remember what I spent it on. I woke up behind a liquor store with empty bottles around me and my wallet gone. The deepest betrayal came from my children. Lauren had reached them first, convincing them I'd embezzled from Carrington Industries. Falsified documents, altered bank statements, forged emails, everything to make it appear I was a thief. Hannah, my daughter, whom I taught to ride a bike and walk down the aisle just 2 years prior, blocked my number after sending one message. I can't believe you'd steal from the company that gave you everything. Don't contact me again. Luke was even worse. He showed up at Daniel's apartment before I'd been asked to leave, standing in the doorway like he might catch some hidden truth. Dad, Mom showed me the proof. How could you embarrass us like this? My boss is asking questions. Hannah's husband wants to know if we need lawyers. You've ruined everything. I tried to explain, to show him it was all lies, but he just shook his head. You're drunk, Dad. Always an excuse. I'm done. Winter hit Denver hard that year. By December, I was living in a rented storage unit, the last of my savings gone. My few possessions were boxed and labeled with my old life: kitchenware, awards, family photos. Christmas Eve, the facility manager found me, called the police, and I was arrested for trespassing. Released 24 hours later, my things were gone, auctioned off for unpaid rent. I quickly learned the geography of homelessness. The bridge under Spear Boulevard was warmer than the one near Platte River. The library let you linger until closing if you pretended to read. The St. Francis Soup Kitchen served meals at noon and 6, but only after a sermon. I grew a beard, not by choice, but by circumstance. Lost 30 pounds in 2 months. My hands trembled from cold and withdrawal. February brought a blizzard that claimed 3 homeless lives. I would have been the 4th if it weren't for Felix Moreno, a 60-year-old Vietnam vet living on the streets since his VA benefits were cut. He dragged me to a heating vent behind an office building, wrapped me in a stolen sleeping bag, and stayed awake all night, watching my chest rise and fall. You're dying, Tommy, Felix said at dawn. Won't last another week out here. Mercy House on 32nd. They've got beds, medical help, caseworkers, documentation, maybe disability. But you have to go today, while you can still walk. I trudged 4 miles through knee-deep snow, boots held together with duct tape, coughing blood into a torn shirt. Mercy House was a converted warehouse. Brown brick streaked with decades of weather, windows barred like a prison, yet to me, it was salvation. The lobby overflowed with men who'd given up on giving up, slumped in plastic chairs, eyes vacant, waiting for their names like souls in purgatory. The intake was humiliating. Pockets searched for weapons, drugs, alcohol. A harsh delousing powder burned my skin and stung my eyes. My clothes were taken, replaced with a gray jumpsuit that smelled of bleach and despair. 3 hours I waited, clocking every minute, praying they hadn't run out of beds. Finally, Joyce Palmer called my name at window 12. I shuffled over, a broken man. She typed as I spoke, routine intake motions. Name, she asked. Thomas Gray. I rasped, pneumonia creeping in. Date of birth, March 15, 1974. Place of birth, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Her fingers froze. She looked up, really looked, as if seeing a ghost. Then she jumped up, chair crashing into a cabinet, and bolted to the back office. Murmurs rose in the waiting room. What's wrong with him? Probably got warrants, someone muttered. Calling the cops. But it wasn't the police Joyce was calling. She returned with Harrison Blackwood, a man in a Navy suit who looked completely out of place in a homeless shelter. He carried himself like a man used to command, silver hair sharply trimmed, eyes that seemed to catalog everything. He studied my face like he was memorizing every line, every scar, every mark. Mr. Gray, Harrison Blackwood said carefully, a subtle tension in his voice. I need you to listen closely. This might sound unusual, but it's extremely important. Do you have any memories from before you were adopted? Anything at all from your first 3 years? Adopted. The word hit like ice water. I wasn't adopted. Ruth and Kenneth Gray are my parents. Joyce Palmer exchanged a glance with Blackwood that made my stomach tighten. Mr. Gray, Joyce said softly, would you consent to some biometric scans, fingerprints, retinal scans, DNA, just to confirm your identity? It's not for law enforcement. There's a database of protected persons, missing individuals, and your name triggered an alert. I was too exhausted, too sick, to argue. Joyce led me into a small room filled with equipment far too advanced for a shelter. She pressed my fingers to a digital scanner, had me peer into a retinal scanner, swabbed my cheek for DNA. Each result produced a beep, then a green light, and Joyce's face turned paler with every test. It's him, she whispered, voice shaking. 9.9% match. Testament subject 7. He's alive. Blackwood pulled out a phone, not a regular cell, something military grade. This is Director Blackwood, Department of Protected Persons. Authorization Code 77 Alpha 9. Subject Gray located. Confirmed. Initiate containment protocol. No one enters or leaves this facility. I tried to stand, but weakness from hunger and shock kept me seated. What is testament? I just need a bed, maybe antibiotics. You have the wrong person. Your life as Thomas Gray ends today, one way or another, Blackwood said, tone controlled but urgent. In 10 minutes, federal agents will surround this building. Some have been looking for you for 30 years. Others hope you'll never be found. Before that, you need to know who you really are. Joyce returned, carrying a thick manila folder stamped in red. Classified Testament Program. Subject 7. Presumed deceased 1977. She placed it on the table like it might burn me. Inside were photographs, medical files, government documents, all describing someone named Ethan Porter, born at the facility called Testament Research Institute to Dr. Eleanor Porter, and a father whose name was blacked out across pages. This can't be real, I murmured, staring at a photo of an infant with the same birthmark, the same unusual eye color, even the subtle ear symmetry Lauren had teased me about. Mr. Gray, Blackwood leaned forward, your birth mother died protecting you, getting you out of that facility. She saved your life. 30 years later, you've walked into our hands. Now the question is, what do we do with you? He opened the folder and spread the documents across the table, as if dealing cards that would decide my fate. The first document, a birth certificate for Ethan Porter, born January 8, 1974, not March 15, as I had always believed. Mother, Dr. Eleanor Porter, biochemist, age 28. Father, fully redacted, but an ID number visible. Testament Prime 003. Your mother was brilliant, Blackwood said, lifting a photo of a young woman in a lab coat, hair tied back, eyes unmistakably mine. Eleanor Porter graduated MIT at 19, earned her doctorate in biochemistry by 23, recruited by the government in 1970 for a classified program. Told her she'd be curing diseases, eliminating birth defects, saving lives. What no one mentioned was that the Department of Defense was overseeing the project. Joyce Palmer pulled out another document, detailing the program's real goal, creating genetically enhanced humans for military and intelligence purposes, enhanced strength, accelerated healing, sharper cognition, resistance to toxins, and disease. 7 subjects were engineered between 1973 and 1977. 6 died before their first birthday. Only subject 7 survived. You were the success, Blackwood said, studying my reaction. Every enhancement worked. Your DNA is flawless, a 1 in a billion combination of your mother's genius-level intelligence and your father's physical traits. But when Eleanor discovered the military's plan to replicate you into an army of super soldiers, she made a choice. The next document was a security report dated November 15, 1977. Testament Research Institute, catastrophic fire. 2 confirmed deaths, 1 missing child, all research destroyed. But the truth was in Eleanor's own handwriting, a letter she had hidden with my adoptive parents. Joyce read aloud. If you're reading this, then my son Ethan is safe and I am gone. The people I worked for are monsters who would turn children into weapons. I've destroyed all research and samples, everything except Ethan himself. Please raise him as your own. Never tell him what he is. The adoption papers are perfect. His new name is Thomas Gray. Let him live a normal life. It is the only gift I can give him. My hands shook as I sifted through the photographs. The fire, Eleanor Porter's obituary calling her death a tragic accident. A small article about an orphan child placed with a couple in Pennsylvania. Ruth and Kenneth Gray, unable to have children, suddenly entrusted with a 3-year-old boy in need of a home. But it gets more complicated, Blackwood continued, pulling out recent files. The program was never fully terminated. Certain factions within the government have been searching for you ever since. Some want to study you for medical advances. Others want to weaponize your genetics. In the past decade, private defense contractors have tried to revive the project. Then he showed me a photograph that stopped my heart. Roland Carrington shaking hands with General Morrison, former director of the original program, at a 2018 defense conference. Another photo, Carrington Industries acquiring a biotech company specializing in genetics. Contract proposals for something called Project Genesis Revival. Roland Carrington has been looking for you. Joyce said quietly. Not Thomas Gray specifically, but Subject 7. He spent $40 million searching for surviving research, genetic samples, anything tied to the original program. He doesn't realize his former logistics manager is exactly what he's been hunting for. That's impossible, I whispered. But pieces fell into place. How I rarely got sick, even when my family was decimated by the flu. How I could work 18-hour days without fatigue. How I saw patterns in supply chains no one else noticed, optimizing routes in my head that computers struggled to calculate. How my body healed faster than it should. How I survived the streets when men half my age froze to death. Your blood, DNA, even bone marrow, Blackwood explained, contained the blueprint of the most successful genetic enhancement in history. Foreign governments would pay billions for a sample. Pharmaceutical companies would kill to study you. And Roland Carrington, the man who destroyed your life, would become the most powerful defense contractor in history if he had access to you. So what now? I asked, the weight of 30 years of lies pressing down on me. You locked me in a lab? Turned me into some kind of experiment? I snapped. No, Blackwood said, his tone calm but firm. Eleanor Porter died, so you could have freedom of choice. We honor that. You have 3 options. 1. We give you a new identity, a new life far from here, and enough resources to disappear completely. 2. You work with us, allow our medical team to study your genetics solely for humanitarian purposes, saving lives like your mother intended. 3. Go back to your old life and pretend none of this happened. I don't recommend it. There's a 4th option, I said, my mind clearing for the first time in months, the fog of alcohol and despair lifting. Roland believes Thomas Gray is dead. But what if someone else appeared? Someone with the right credentials, the right background, who could get close to his genetic research? Blackwood's eyes widened. You mean infiltrating the organization of the man who destroyed your life? I mean justice, I said, feeling a spark I hadn't felt in years. Purpose. The transformation took 6 months. The Department of Displaced Persons officially declared Thomas Gray deceased. A John Doe, pulled from the South Platte River, identified through dental records meticulously fabricated by Joyce's team, served as a public closure. Lauren Gray played the grieving widow perfectly at the memorial, tears flowing as Roland Carrington held her hand. My children stood at the empty grave, Hannah sobbing into her husband's shoulder, Luke rigid and shaking. I watched from a car across the cemetery, 40 pounds heavier, hair dyed black, eyes altered with contacts. I was now Martin Cross, defense logistics consultant, equipped with a carefully constructed resume. Harvard MBA, 10 years with a private military contractor in Virginia, specializing in the secure transport of sensitive materials. The kind of background Roland would salivate over. Blackwood's team inserted me into the system through a DoD connection in their debt. Within 3 weeks, I was sitting in Roland's office, the same one where he'd fired Thomas Gray, interviewing for a position overseeing his classified research logistics. Martin, your experience is exactly what we need, Roland said, barely glancing at my fabricated credentials. We're moving sensitive biological specimens, research materials requiring special handling. The previous manager was incompetent, drank himself into oblivion, left his family in ruins. I smiled, resisting the urge to reach across that mahogany desk and show him exactly what Testament Subject 7 was capable of. I had a longer game. Within 2 months, I had access to the entire Genesis Revival Initiative. Roland had recovered 60% of the original research through black market channels and corrupt officials. His scientists were 3 years from producing the first enhanced subject. Meanwhile, the medical team analyzing my genetics achieved breakthroughs that seemed miraculous. Dr. Patricia Ningguan, the lead geneticist, told me, your DNA could treat muscular dystrophy, ALS, and dozens of other genetic disorders. Your mother wasn't building a weapon. She wanted to end human suffering. The military corrupted her vision, but her science could save millions. I fed Blackwood weekly intelligence on Roland's operations, every shipment of illegal genetic material, every bribe, every treaty violation. We were building a case that would ruin him completely. But I wanted more. I wanted him to know who had taken him down. The hardest part was staying distant from my children. I sent anonymous evidence to both Hannah and Luke, proof of their mother's betrayal, bank statements revealing Roland's payments to Lauren during their affair. emails between them plotting my downfall, security footage proving I was in my office when they claimed I was embezzling. Hannah called the burner phone I'd kept just for her. "Dad?" she sobbed when I answered. "Oh my God, Dad. We know everything." Mom admitted it all when we confronted her. "Luke's here too. We're so sorry. Where are you? Please come home." "I can't come back, sweetheart," I said, voice disguised, love unmistakable. "But know this, I never stole anything, never betrayed anyone. I love you both more than life itself. Take care of each other. Trust your instincts about people. Remember, sometimes the most dangerous enemies look like friends." My mother's call was harder. Ruth Gray was failing in her nursing home, told I was dead. "Tommy," she cried when she heard my voice. "I knew you weren't gone. A mother knows. But they gave me a letter from someone named Eleanor. She said you were special, born to change the world. Why didn't you tell me you were adopted?" "Because you're my real mother," I said firmly. "You and Dad saved me, raised me, loved me when my birth mother couldn't. Biology doesn't matter. Love matters. You gave me everything that made me human." The end came on a Thursday. Federal agents stormed Carrington Industries with warrants for every illegal action. Roland was arrested in his office, the same one where he destroyed Thomas Gray, charged with 37 counts of illegal genetic trafficking, bioweapons development, and conspiracy. Lauren Gray was named a co-conspirator for hiding assets, losing everything: house, cars, jewelry purchased with blood money. I was there when they let him out in handcuffs, standing among employees witnessing his empire collapse. He locked eyes with me. Martin Cross, the trusted consultant feeding information to the feds. For a heartbeat, I let him see it in my eyes, Thomas Gray staring back. Recognition hit him like a physical blow. His face drained, knees buckled, agents holding him upright. Felix Moreno, the veteran who saved me from death under the bridge, now lives in a small Denver apartment. Rent and care covered by an anonymous benefactor. Mercy House Shelter received a $10 million donation, expanding medical services and adding 100 beds. Joyce Palmer still works there, saving lives, seeking the lost and forgotten. Eleanor Porter's research, purified of military intent, has already saved thousands. Children with fatal genetic disorders live normal lives. Veterans with traumatic brain injuries regain functions doctors had written off. My blood, my DNA, my mother's sacrifice, all mattered. I remain Martin Cross in the world, traveling between research labs, coordinating legitimate transport of medical breakthroughs derived from my genetics. But at night, I remember Thomas Gray, a family, a home, a life built on 25 years of honest work. Roland and Lauren took that from me, but they gave me something greater: purpose. The lesson is simple yet profound. Sometimes you must lose everything to discover who you truly are. Thomas Gray was destroyed by betrayal, left to die in the cold. But from that ruin came truth. I learned I was never ordinary, never just a warehouse manager pushing papers. I am Eleanor Porter's son, Ethan Porter. Testament Subject 7. A living medical marvel capable of saving countless lives my mother once only dreamed of helping. Every morning, I wake in my secure Denver apartment, gaze at the skyline, and reflect on the journey that brought me here. From a cardboard box at Carrington Industries to a cardboard box under a bridge, from Thomas Gray to nobody, from Ethan Porter to Martin Cross. Each identity took something from me until only the truth remained. We are not our names, our jobs, our possessions, or even our families. We are our choices, the actions we take, the lives we touch, the impact we leave behind. Roland Carrington is now in federal prison, 70 years to serve, his empire dismantled and divided among the victims of his genetic crimes. Lauren Gray lives with her sister in Nebraska, working as a cashier, her wealth seized, her children refusing contact. And somewhere in Colorado, a grave reads Thomas Gray, 1974 to 2024, husband and father. The casket is empty, but the man it commemorates was never ordinary. A shell hiding something remarkable. I am Martin Cross now, but I am also Ethan Porter, and once I was Thomas Gray. I am the homeless man who survived, the experiment who escaped, the victim who became the victor. And if you're listening, if you followed my journey, know this: your lowest moment might be the doorway to your true purpose. Those who try to destroy you might unknowingly hand you the tools for resurrection. And sometimes, Justice comes in the most unexpected form. A man walking into a shelter carrying 30 years of secrets and the power to change the world. If this story moved you, made you think about hidden strengths within yourself, about the possibility of redemption in the darkest times, then please like and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment about a moment when losing everything led to finding something greater, when failure became the foundation of your greatest success. And subscribe for more incredible true stories of transformation, courage, and the extraordinary hidden in the everyday. Remember, everyone you pass on the street carries a story worth knowing.